Hello. Today we are changing the gear oil in the transmission. Cool. As I mentioned in the last video, I bought this car from a guy that had it in Canada. Fortunately, he had kept it in, essentially a hangar or a garage, so it was in good shape. Unfortunately, he hadn't really done anything to it for, I assume, 10 years or so. All the fluids were either low or bad. The belts were really worn out. I wasn't sure how well things had been kept up on it. So part of the process of getting this car was just to assume that everything needed to be either replaced or flushed. So all the belts and fluids and things like that. One of those being the transmission, right? So it's a 4-speed Muncie transmission. Works, it had been working smoothly. Like, I didn't see any problems with it, but definitely wanted to change out that gear oil in there. Since there had been a few owners of this car over the years, who knows, maybe somebody had put like automatic transmission fluid in it. You never know. And so I just figured the safest way, to make me feel better about it was just to actually put some proper gear oil in it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I drove a car up onto these ramps. I'm super paranoid whenever I use ramps. So I also make sure I put them under jack stands, just because I'm extremely paranoid. But that gives me a good amount of clearance so that I don't have to, have a lift or anything like that. Here's our transmission. We have 2 plugs on here. The bottom plug is for draining, and the top plug is for filling. One thing that's important if you're going to change your gear oil in your manual transmission, you're going to want to loosen that top one first, because you want to make sure that after you drain out any existing oil, you're actually able to refill it with good oil. If you were to drain out from the bottom and then the top plug was seized, you would not be able to fill it back up. That would be bad. So you're going to want to loosen that top one first, make sure it's good, and once you've confirmed that you can loosen it, then loosen the bottom and drain it out. So you can see I picked up, AW30 gear oil. I heard that for a Muncie transmission, these are the ones to get, that you shouldn't go with a new synthetic. So I'm hoping this is the correct one. It looks good. Everything I checked out said anything compatible with GL5 was good. I think I will need, each of these is a quart. I don't think I'm going to need that much. I'm just going to fill it up with the fill line, but we'll see. This pump is so that we can get it in there without having to try to turn this upside down, which would be an impossible task. This is the drain plug. This top one here, this is the fill plug. I have my pan down here to collect my fluids. I ended up just using an adjustable wrench. They're on there pretty tight, but I didn't need to use a breaker bar or anything. And I was able to get it successfully. You're supposed to do this on a completely level surface, because you want this to drain out as much as possible, and having the front lifted isn't ideal, but I think this will have to do for now. This is the fluid that drained out. This is the old gear oil. It doesn't look too bad. Fortunately, it doesn't look like silver paint, which is a good sign. Doesn't mean that everything was completely annihilated inside the transmission. And actually, if we get up in the transmission itself, I might actually be able to see, you can see the gears in the transmission. And this is still dripping out like I mentioned. So I'm gonna let that drip out for a few more minutes, and then I will start replacing the fluid. On the bottom, there is a fair amount of, silver looking buildup, which is, obviously bits of your transmission that have over time worn away. So that's not great. It wasn't an enormous amount. It did have some buildup on this plug, which I believe was the one at the top, and also some buildup on the bottom. They're the same actual bolt. I ended up wiping that off. So this is what I was saying. They've got the square head. The threads look okay. I do want to clean them out, make sure there's no filings or anything. And like I said, there was a fair amount of, it's not silver, obviously, it would be steel or iron. buildup on there that I cleaned out, and they still look fine. You can see where all that iron buildup was. These are magnets, so that's a pretty clever design. You know, attract all the metal filings that may fall into your transmission case. So I'm going to clean these off as best I can, and we'll put the new fluid back in shortly. Real quick look at my setup. I've got the little pump on the gear oil bottle. It's going in the top of the transmission, and then the bottom plug. I am going to plug that, but just kind of pumping a little bit in there, get it to rinse out, make sure I got everything that might, you know, be gunky. So I'm going to plug it up and fill it now. Alright, I've hand tightened the bottom one as much as I can. Use my wrench for the rest. Tighten the bottom nut. Have the pan here to collect just in case. And then I've got the top going in from the pump bottle. And I'm just giving it once. And we'll keep doing this until it overflows. Finished one bottle of gear oil. Got another bottle. I heard it should take 3 pints. There's 2 pints in a quart. I have 2 quarts, so ideally should only get halfway through this second bottle. Alright, so as you can see, I've got the plug hand tightened in. Basically it was pumping until I saw fluid running out of the hole, which was 1.5 quarts. So that was right in line with what I was expecting, which is good. Now I'll tighten it with the wrench. Here's the old and the new fluid. The old is the more brown. The new is the green. That's what came out when I was filling it up. Success. Gear oil's good. Transmission's operating smoothly. Changing gears well. No issues, no noises, nothing slipping out. Everything sounds really nice. In case you're wondering, this lovely little fan here, this car obviously doesn't have an air conditioner, and in North Carolina in the summers it gets brutal in here even with the vents closed, so I have a little USB fan there to keep me cool, which is nice. Transmission is operating very smoothly. I checked it again after driving it for a few miles. No issues, like nothing's leaking out. Let's see if there's anything else I want to show inside the oh yeah. So, I recently hooked up the parking brake switch light, so that looks really nice. You can see there's 82,000 miles on the tach, or I'm sorry, 82,000 miles on the odometer. That's actually not quite right. So the tires on this are too small. They're about 10% too small. I suspect the reason the owner did that was because they had it in Canada and they wanted the speedometer to more closely reflect kilometers per hour. This is just a guess, but it means that the odometer is off by about 10%. So assuming that the odometer had never been reset or anything like that, the car probably has about 75,000 miles on it. If you assume, you know, everything that needs to be done on a car with 75,000 miles, it's not out of line to be changing transmission oil anyways. Let's see, what other fluids? Did the power steering fluid, obviously the oil, flush the coolant. That's about it. Is there anything else? I did forget one other fluid that I did, the brakes. So the braking was really soft when I got it. The fluid had actually gotten really low in the master cylinder, and I think there was air in the line, so I did completely flush the brake fluid. I'm probably going to replace the brake booster as well as put a new master cylinder on there, so I'll need to bleed them and do a bench bleed. That's going to be my next project. That's going to be pretty interesting. I'll film that. I'm looking forward to doing that. I just need to get a new brake booster, a new master cylinder, and that should be an interesting project. You know, that's pretty fun to do. So yeah, that may be my next video, and hopefully I'll get that done shortly.